good morning wherever you are. Today I want to talk briefly about how to become a great sound designer. This is going to be part one of a 4-part series, and the first thing I want to focus on is the mindset. I think this is the most important tool a sound designer has in his toolbox because technicalities will change, industry standards will change and evolve, tools will change, but your mindset is what will determine how we use these tools to achieve our goal, which is to tell a story that is impactful. So while we build up to the masterclass, don't worry, it's coming, guys. I will like to begin with the sound designer's mindset. Welcome to episode 2 of The Echo Chamber. And so if you have ever listened to music and it made you cry, then you are at a great starting point, in my opinion, because you have experienced the power of sound. And I believe to recreate the power of sound, you need to have experienced it in some way or form. And that is why I believe that being a great sound designer is more than technicalities. You are creating feelings, you are creating emotions, you are telling stories. And as a sound designer, you have to be interested in the whole story. You need to be interested in what the DP is doing. You need to be interested in what the gaffer is doing. You need to be interested in screenplay. You need to be interested in storytelling techniques, because there's a language to film and storytelling, and you need to be able to speak that language, especially as one of the last people in the chain of production and post-production. You need to be able to understand everything that is being communicated, right from conception through production, and culminating at this thing we call the locked picture. And if everything is communicating something, if the lighting is communicating something, and the acting is communicating something, and the framing is communicating something, and all these are going in a direction, then your sound needs to complement that direction and not go against it. Now, am I saying the technicalities don't matter? Okay, so I'm talking to two sets of people probably. If you're interested in sound design, you're either interested in pursuing it as a hobby, you might just be curious about it, and you might also be interested in it as a profession. The approach to these two is going to be slightly different, but in both cases, guys, you still need to learn the technicalities. And the reason you need to learn the technicalities is you want to shorten the time it takes to get what is in your head onto your DAW and out to your audience. And the better you are at technicalities, the closer your output will be to your conception. But how do you trust your conception? Because if you are training on getting very good at translating what is in your head to your DAW, but what is in your head doesn't work or doesn't have the impact needed to tell the story, then in that case you are basically Johnny Bravo, right? So I really believe in everybody in the filmmaking process trusting their instincts, because as it takes a village to make a film, the individuality of all the members of this village is what makes each film the unique blend that it ends up becoming. But I believe in order to trust those instincts, we need to have already trained those instincts. And the way you train those instincts is by basically understanding the story, understanding the language of the story. And with the mindset of film and not just sound, if you're trying to serve the story, you'll always be going in the right direction. And that's where we all need to start from. If you want to become a sound designer and all of these things don't sound interesting to you, if the entire filmmaking process is not interesting to you, then there might be some things to consider or work on. Okay, so you need to train your mindset, and if you're going to be one of those people amongst the two groups who is going to take it as a professional, then you also need to add the part of working with other people. So you need to learn a whole set of other things that have to do with just making it easier to work with other people. There are many aspects to it, including communication, including naming conventions, including jargon. So there's a lot of that to learn alongside, the storytelling techniques I'm talking about. And that's separate from the technicalities that will help you translate all these things that you've now learned into actual things that the audience can perceive. And speaking of the audience, another thing to add to your mindset is that your main audience is not the consumer, the final consumer. Your main audience is actually the filmmakers. Because a 30-second piece of content, for example, might just be 30 seconds in the life of an audience member or a viewer, but for the filmmaker, it might be their whole lives. And so your first audience, the first person you're trying to communicate an emotion to or pass the story to, is the creator of the story or the set of creators you're collaborating with on the story. And if you're able to tell that effectively to them, that group of people, your work is pretty much done, because from there the energy is already created. That is what, you know, makes content relatable. And there are so many things that go into the success of a film. You can't really control the external numbers because so many factors go into it. I couldn't start to name them all, but if you're able to tell that story effectively and the group of people you are collaborating with feels like that story has been told, then your job is done. So this is episode 1. Next, we're going to go into, after mindset, episode 2 is going to be on ears. So a quick recap. You need to learn about filmmaking. You need to understand how edit affects spacing. You need to understand storytelling techniques, like I mentioned earlier. And I might even go as far as to say, if you're a sound designer and you've never tried to build a story yourself, you've never tried to, you know, write a screenplay, a short film, something, develop a story from start to finish, understand plot structure and all of these things, then I don't think you can really be able to communicate yourself fully and express yourself in your strongest way as a sound designer. So maybe you can take that as an assignment if you're interested. I guess a 5-minute short film is good enough to start with. Okay, so these are all my thoughts. This is how I think you can become a great sound designer. This is my echo chamber after all. So you can feel free to take everything you hear here with a grain of salt. But one thing I'm certain of is that with the right mindset, it doesn't matter what tools are in front of you, what timelines are in front of you, you produce consistently good results that tell good stories and impactful stories. And that is why I think that should be the main focus. Because one thing I hate to hear from sound designers is, oh, I don't have access to this particular tool or this particular system or this particular software, and that's why I can't do this. Because I believe with that right approach and mindset to storytelling, you can tell a story with whatever tool is in front of you. You know, if someone can make art with bottle covers, someone can make art with sachets of pure water nylons, you can tell stories on any technical software if you are approaching the story from the roots, you know, and from the essence of it. So guys, that's all I have to say for this episode. And don't forget, Suki is out on Amazon Prime, and I'm very proud of this one. I was watching Diamond Ring recently, and I realized that we grew up listening to very poor sound in Nollywood, and it was no fault of ours. With the resources and knowledge that was available then, it was pretty good. We did a very good job back then, but I mean, look at this, guys.
Hurry up now, hurry up. Don't spoil the coffee.
Baba. Well, say they no go fit go till 7:30.
Baba, help us now. You say you go help us, please.
And now look at us. So I'm genuinely excited about the next generation of Nollywood and next generation of Nollywood sound design is going to look like. And yeah, here's to the right mindsets in Nollywood sound design. This has been episode 2 of the Echo Chamber, and goodbye. The Echo Chamber is brought to you by Fisayo Adifolaju.